again. So anyhow, welcome back to day one of our Commerce Summit and our retail sessions. We are going to round out the day with a fantastic session, and we are joined by Teads to talk all things driving middle of funnel consideration, how to take advantage of the newest and shoppable and display. So we're thrilled to be joined by Teads for this session today. So first, some logistics before we dive into content is everyone's favorite question. The recording and slides will be in your inbox tomorrow from all of the sessions from today. And so if you weren't able to stay logged in the whole time, or maybe didn't catch the initial sessions, they were fantastic. You won't want to miss the content, but all of that will be in your inbox by tomorrow morning, depending on your time zone, maybe more like afternoon. Also, you can log back in anytime with that same link that has been in your inbox and your calendar hold, both for today over the next 30 or 40 minutes as we have our last session, and then for next week as well, it'll be that same link. We also have some great resources in our handout section, and so you can make sure to download those, both a great document of our key takeaways from today, and excuse me, everyone. So key takeaways from today, and also some of our newly released 2023 reports as well. Also, as many people have already, make sure to join our chat, submit questions for our live Q&A with our speakers at the end of the session, and we will make sure to get to those as we can. Had some great questions already coming in today. Also, make sure to join our poll questions. We'll have 2 live right now, one that we'll get to in a moment, and a second if you're interested in talking with our teams after the session today. I'll also introduce myself. My name is Carrie Malla. I'm the Senior Content Specialist for webinars here at Tinuiti, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. So a little bit about Tinuiti for those who may not be familiar. Here at Tinuiti, we've mastered the media that matters most. Tinuiti is the largest independent performance marketing firm across streaming TV and the triple of Google, Facebook, and Amazon. At Tinuiti, we understand that success requires both strategy and channel specialization. That approach wins us awards and recognition across the industry, such as the American Business TV Awards and the Shorty Awards, and allows us to grow some amazing clients like those that you see here. All right, we have 2 great speakers joining us for this session, and so I'll turn it over to Raquel and John to introduce themselves.
Great. Thanks, Carrie. I'm Raquel Kozlowski. I'm the Associate Director of Retail Programmatic here at Tinuiti. So I manage all of the partnerships for our programmatic side of things, trying to come up with new opportunities and working with partners such as Teads over here to really come up with new opportunities and new offerings for our clients on the programmatic side for retail.
Hey everyone, John Davis, U.S. Industry Director for Commerce at Teads, and we're really focused on helping brands and agencies really capitalize on that mid-funnel commerce opportunity. So it's a huge opportunity. We all need to win there, and hopefully we'll give you some ideas and thought starters so that you can kickstart your business.
Awesome. Well, we are so thrilled to have you both with us today. So for our audience, we first want to know from you all, what would you all say is your biggest obstacle in engaging customers? Is it finding that right target audience? Is it building creative content or ads? Is it market saturation, competition, or perhaps is it something else? And if so, you can let us know what that something else is in the chat. All right, we've got answers coming in right now. Looks like market saturation and then finding the right audience are most popular, but then others also saying building creative content and ads. Let's see, I'll give another minute for responses to come in. All right, market saturation, competition seems to be taking the lead. So we will dive into all of that. I do want to give a quick programming note. We will be switching to a screen share so that John can show you some capabilities on video through the presentation. And so if you all just bear with us when we make that switch in a few minutes, that'll be fantastic. So I'm going to go off camera and hand it over to Raquel.
Great, thank you. So no matter what you replied to on our poll there, we're going to be talking through all of that, especially with John as he walks through some more details. But I'm really going to kick us off and talk why it's so important to drive that middle of the funnel. You know, you've already built out that brand awareness, but how do we really continue that momentum and keep those shoppers engaged, especially when it comes to how saturated the market is? A consideration stage is a crucial part of the funnel. So at this stage, the customer's already interested. We know they're interested by who we're targeting, but we need to guide them that extra step and make that final purchase decision to really purchase our product over the competitors. So there's a couple key questions that I typically ask myself and ask our clients when I'm going through any type of strategy build. And it's, what do we need to focus on to drive that consideration for the product? How do we keep our shopper engaged to finalize that purchase and really create that loyalty? Whether we have a product that we buy once or a product that we're going to continue purchasing, as a brand, we still want that loyalty. We don't want them going to a competitor brand. And then how do we really stand out from our competitors? So there's 4 key steps that I really think about each time when we go through these, when we talk with a client and really talk about this stage of the funnel. Strategy is the key one. That's where we start with everything. Obviously, if we don't start with a strong strategy and foundation, the rest could crumble. We have our awareness stage and we have our lower funnel, we have our retargeting. We want to make sure that it's all comprehensive. Another great thing is if they already have data, if a client already has data, we really want to utilize that historical data. That's just a great way to start strong right out of the gate. That way we're not guessing. We're not, testing. We're still testing for the future, but we have things that are already solid foundation, like I said, to really start on. And creative. That we're not able to talk to the customer on the screen. So when we have that creative, we want to make sure that that message and that content is key. That's what they're seeing. That's what's representing our brand. So how do we make that content and that creative engaging, such as high impact ads and some other ad types that John's going to go into here that look really awesome. They're super cool to see. And we got to make those relevant to our audience. So if it's not speaking to the audience that we're targeting, it's not really going to matter. That's a huge piece of it. So who are we targeting? Who is our core audience, demographic, their buying persona? We want to make sure we're targeting that right audience. And all of this, as you can tell, just needs to marry together to create that perfect campaign. Are we utilizing the right partners? So other partners like Teads or other partners that utilize these high impact ads and inventory placements, we want to make sure that we're utilizing them and their retailers to be able to access premium data. Some of this data isn't even being utilized by some of our competitors. So we want to make sure that we're actually utilizing that retailer data. They have loyalty data, they have purchase data, household data. They have all this data that we can utilize, especially as we're seeing that cookie deprecation happen. And then inventory. Of course, we want to make sure that where our ads are landing and where they're being placed online is brand safe. Of course, we don't want an ad showing up where probably isn't the best audience and maybe not the best placement for our ad. So we want to make sure that's safe, relevant, high quality, and premium, meaning it's showing up alongside content that actually matches what we're talking about in our ad. To dive slightly deeper, the biggest thing that I always talk about is that creative, are those ads. That's exactly what a consumer is seeing. So as the space is becoming more saturated across the web, we're seeing new placements, new brands entering the space. We want to make sure that we're standing out across from our competitors. There are so many ads going on at once. I know we almost miss them sometimes, but when you're shopping on a page, you'll even notice there are different brands competing for those spaces and competitor brands even on the same page. So how do we stand out from that competitor? We want to build and deliver that creative that offers a unique experience, making that customer want to engage. Longer view times, longer click-through rate, increasing those searches. When we work on something from a display side, I want to make sure that we're collaborating with our search team and it's impacting them as well, and they're seeing that search increase. So we collaborate as a team, as a strategic effort to make this all comprehensive. So what are some creative ways? So we're going to talk about these high impact ads. Like I said, they're awesome. John's going to walk through them. They're very unique, a very unique experience. Video, CTV, OTT, pre-roll. This is a great way to be able to tell a brand story that we can't technically always be able to tell in a static ad or a display image. Again, delivering on that premium inventory. I want to make sure that what my ad is speaking to is directly speaking to what that target core audience is on that page and the content that's on that page. And then we want to showcase how our product can provide a solution for our customer. So I always say lifestyle images or actually showcasing how our product, especially in a video, you can definitely show it. How can that really provide a solution for our customer? And then again, utilize partners such as retailers, Teads, to really be able to access data that some of our competitors aren't utilizing today. So we go outside of the norm, other than just being on maybe a demand side platform or typical platforms where people are displaying their ads. We like to go one step further, 2 steps further, and especially in my role, finding those different partners that we can leverage that data and those creative services to really make our clients have that edge on their competitors. So I'm going to let John take it away now, and he's going to take us into a deep dive into everything that he has to offer with the Teads side. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Thank you. That was a great setup. If you guys will bear with me for just 1 second, I'm going to share content so you guys can see it. And I want to make sure that's appearing the way we want it to
looks
appear.
Great.
Beautiful. Okay. The commerce challenges in the open web exist, and we're aware of them. But hopefully what we give you here is some content that you can take back immediately and start using some of the concepts that we're seeing brands use right now to win in the space. It's critical that when you're off .com, and so when we say .com, we're talking Walmart.com or even your owned and operated, that when we get into that open web space, that we're able to conduct commerce appropriately, because 91% or more of your consumers are there every single month. So it's a place that we absolutely cannot avoid or ignore. But there are inherent challenges, and we're aware of this. And so one of the things that we're really trying to work through is, what does consumer privacy look like in the space, and how, as consumer privacy evolves, we are still able to win and find our shoppers. Cookie deprecation is here to stay. It's going to continue to evolve. And so from a data perspective, when we go into the open web, that's a challenge for us. Limited attribution across all of your retailers. We know that your retailers want you spending your money with them and all of your money with them, but that's not feasible, because at the end of the day, you have a brand, you need to create awareness, and you need shoppability at multiple outlets, including your own DTC experience. And then finally, a lot of times in the open web, there are very limited choices in terms of creative variation. And it was mentioned earlier with the great setup by Raquel that, you know, a lot of times the opportunities on open web creative is very standard and static and doesn't let you stand out from the crowd. Other issues and challenges that we have in the open web, and this is really market pressures that shoppers have to deal with. And one is inventory and shipping. Products that shoppers want and expect are having a tough time making it to the shelf. And when that happens and there's substitutions that occur, retail partners will put in private label brands many times, or sometimes they'll substitute from a competitive product standpoint. And now we've just used our money in the open web to drive an outcome for a competitor or even the retailer, and we don't get the benefit of that. Another piece of this is scarcity is creating urgency. So now when shoppers see those products in your ad, they want them immediately, because they realize if they wait, especially on tentpole events like Prime Day, if they wait, those products are going to be gone. So they are being trained right now, because of these market pressures, to take advantage of a shoppable moment at every stop. As well, price shopping, selection shopping is really increasing. If we have brand advocates, brand loyalists, being able to show them multiple products within our portfolio offering is a really high opportunity for you to capture more of their business in the open web. But then all of these market pressures really are messing with the trust relationship that we have with our brand and our retailer and our consumers. So we've got to figure out a way to capitalize in the open web and really deliver a curated shopper experience that shoppers expect and really will appreciate you and the brand and the retailer for providing to them. So this is some of the things that we're leaning into with our brand partners to really help win and capitalize in this space. And one is a cookieless approach. I would think at this point, most of you have had a conversation internally or with your agency partners about what our long-term cookieless solution looks like. And cookieless is something that we're leaning into heavily, and we'll show you some numbers to back that up on the next slide. Contextual alignment, to make sure that the content that your ad is shown, where your message is delivered, and where your shopper receives that message, that aligns really well for both the brand and the shopper. Product variability, we want to make sure that at that moment of truth, there's the opportunity to shop various products within the portfolio. Content variability in terms of what we're providing to the shoppers. And then ultimately, from a creative standpoint, we want to lean into unique shoppable experiences for the brand, because not only will that increase awareness for us, but if we have a unique shoppable experience, we can also provide a more frictionless path to purchase and get shoppers directly from our ad unit into that shopping experience. And so when we take a look at it from a macro level, we really want to make every moment shoppable. We want to empower consumers to see your products when it makes sense, and then to make purchases where they want to shop. Empower them to make decisions, and these decisions that they're making are going to make an impact for your brand at premium e-com destinations that you really need to support. So here's some of the numbers we talked about earlier, and this is around cookieless and contextual. If you see on the left side, this is a study we ran with a large agency and their brand partner, over 150 million impressions. So this was a large study, but what we found is that versus a cookied approach, the cookieless approach, especially in that mid funnel, you can see that second graph from the left, awareness was actually increased when we used a cookieless approach. So we feel confident in that as a lever to pull in the open web. The other piece to that is the contextual alignment that I mentioned a couple of times. And what we've seen is a 281% jump in consideration. So now we're on the open web, we've found the right shopper, and from a cookieless contextual standpoint, we're able to start to push consumers down the funnel. And as the previous session talked about, once they get on .com, there's a whole lot you can do with them at that point. But our job is to make sure we get the right shopper into that retail experience for you, and that you're supporting multiple customers. This data is sourced in this deck, so when you get it, please take a look at the notes section and you can take a look at it for yourself. Really interesting when you look at what's happening in the space from a creative standpoint where retailers are involved. When retailers need to go up the funnel, they're going off .com as well. And so these open web strategies that we're talking to you with right now are also being employed by multiple brands and retailers. On the left, this Target example is an extension of their social programs, but adding that carousel at the bottom so that we get, shoppability and product variation within the ad unit itself, straight from this ad unit right to a shoppable experience. The middle one here, or the one from Gucci, is actually an AR experience. And so this is really about gamification or engagement and allowing shoppers to trial a different piece of the product, in this instance, a color variation from a lipstick, and then provide shoppability of that color in this instance, it was Sephora, but you're taking a high impact, very engaging ad experience, and you're providing shoppability. If you take a look at this one from Conagra with Bird's Eye, you can see we're highlighting multiple products within the portfolio from the brand, but the big play here is that we're providing retailer selection to shoppers so that retailers can make the decision at the moment of truth which retailer they want to shop at. And if you're supporting multiple customers across the market, you can provide multiple ad iterations of this experience so that you're really starting to empower consumers to see product variation, but then also make retailer decisions. And then this one from Walmart, again, indicative of retailers coming up to the open web to win in the mid funnel, and having a highly engaged scroll effect with a very strong call to action, asking shoppers to come and commit retail at Walmart. We want to extend that experience for mobile and home as well. It's the largest screen in the house, and typically it's been seen as an upper funnel tactic. But with the re-advent, I would say, of QR codes, now we can provide shoppability in-home as well. And so when you combine the in-home experience with the mobile experience, what you get is a really very consistent strategy from an omni perspective, but still providing that shoppability. And there's a lot of quality metrics that you can track when you have an execution like this. One of the things that we're seeing brands lean into when we do these kind of campaigns is carting and putting items directly into carts at a retailer destination. And so this is a couple of things for us, but what it's really doing is allowing us to take consumers directly out of an ad experience. You can see this one here on the left from Corona. It's got retailer selection, and then items would be added to a cart directly out of this unit. And in this carousel unit on the right, you can see that we highlighted multiple products, or multiple products from the portfolio was highlighted, but this also could be education. So your product could be, in the first frame, and then some education information on the subsequent frames, which means that we can replace a landing page experience when we deploy some of these units. And so that reduces the amount of steps that it takes for us to get shoppers from an ad experience to a shoppable commerce destination. The other piece, when we employ carting for brands, we can control substitutions. So if a flavor variation or a pack size is out for your brand at a retailer, we can substitute with something within your portfolio that's suitable to shoppers. And I can tell you, with some of the market pressures in terms of shelf scarcity and inventory issues, substitutions are really more well accepted from a brand we trust than brands that we don't know quite yet. And you really can't talk about mid-funnel and commerce without mentioning Amazon. It is 56% of all online commerce. But the unique thing that I don't think enough brands really lean into or understand is that you can drive your mid-funnel media through Amazon's DSP and back to those shoppable experiences on Amazon, using Amazon first-party data, which is really, really valuable and a very rich set of audience segments to target. You also are able to drive to your own DTC experience, your own coupon site. Maybe you have a partnership with the NBA, you have a tentpole event that you're really trying to drive eyes to. You can drive shoppers through the Amazon DSP across the open web to your experience or site that you really need to get eyeballs on, build up a CRM, drive through redemption, launch a new product. There's a ton of use cases for using Amazon audiences in the open web to win in that middle commerce funnel. So to wrap it up, we really wanted to make this bite-sized and edible so that you could take back some of these concepts and instantly start to put them into practice. But the first thing we want to leave you with is just reduce the friction in the path to purchase. Let's make it easy for shoppers to get these products when they make the decision they want to purchase your product, and enable them to get those products where they want to buy them. Translate your first-party data and purchase data into cookieless signals. This is going to keep our scale up. It's going to give us a more efficient media activation. And as we showed earlier, the numbers are a proof point to say that this is a successful tactic in the open web. Contextual alignment, can't stress this enough, making sure that your shopper and your message meet within content that makes sense for both parties really impacts the consideration set. And then finally, leaning into those unique shoppable experiences from a creative standpoint is going to not only allow you to increase awareness, but it's going to allow you to set yourself apart, which we mentioned earlier and you guys mentioned in the poll, really set you apart from a very crowded space. If you look like everyone else, you can't stand out. So let's look different than everyone else, and ultimately leave you with the concept of making every moment shoppable, because we want to really deliver a curated experience to shoppers and enable that shoppability and win in commerce in the open web. And these are some core concepts that we're seeing work.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And we'll just leave you with some key takeaways here. So for your brand to be successful in the consideration stage, as we've talked about, as John has touched on, we want to keep those shoppers engaged, whether it's relevant audience, premium inventory, those creatives. We want to make sure that we're standing out from our competitors through the use of all of those. Make sure that we have a tight-knit, comprehensive strategy involving all of those. And then leverage retailers like Teads to really use that data, especially with the deprecation of cookies and those premium audience segments, in order to get in front of those relevant and really highly engaging customers, especially with those great creative ads. So all of that together just really makes for a great consideration stage.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much, John and Raquel, for presenting such great information. Before we dive into our Q&A, do you want to let our audience know we have a poll live right now. If you're interested in having a follow-up conversation of how you can utilize Teads and Tinuiti to really put your retail media to the next level, you can let us know in the poll that's live right now in the polls dashboard. Excuse me. All right, we are going to move into Q&A. Do you want to also call out that the QR codes on the screen will direct you to Raquel and John's LinkedIns? And so if you'd like to connect with them after the session, you can do so via scanning that QR code. All right, and our first question comes from Alexander. I'm not sure if it's Alexandre or Alexander, which is, what are some of the biggest challenges in retail media for 2023? Are these challenges the same for brick and mortar and exclusively online retail players? Really good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll jump in here first. I think we did touch a little bit on it, but I would say the saturation. So many players are entering. There's new placements, such as even like game advertising. There's so many different placements now. So one of the biggest challenges in retail media right now is really just the saturation. So that's why we're so big on finding these partners and finding ways to really stand out in programmatic and in retail advertising to begin with. I would say, I mean, it'd be great to hear from you, John, from like a brick and mortar standpoint. But I would say it's across both, right? There's advertising everywhere. Even when we think about, digital advertising that now is in brick and mortar stores, like we just heard from Cooler Screens. So even in the stores, we're really trying to stand out and make sure that our brands are one level up against the other competitors. How do we really stand out against all this market saturation?
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing is, when you're thinking about in stores, it's getting on the list and making sure that when that trip is made, that you're either in the cart if it's pickup or delivery, or because pickup is considered brick and mortar. But if you're going in store, if you're not on the list, unless it's an impulse purchase, and that's what the previous session really was about, unless it's an impulse purchase, people are going to go back to what it is they know. So we need to bring education and awareness before they get to the actual store themselves and do their shopping. So that's really, if I want to relate it back to kind of, our experience from mid-funnel perspective, that's really how we're leaned in to make sure that we're getting them early and often, and then we get on the list before the trip.
Thank you both so much. Great responses, and also a great question. All right, well, we will leave it there. I want to let our audience know that we have a great resource in our digital marketing hub. And so you can click the link that's going to pop up in the bottom left of your screen in order to go through to the content hub. We have all of our great webinars coming up on there, as well as other resources, guides, blog posts. What you're looking for, it's definitely there. So make sure to check that out. And I want to sincerely thank Raquel and John for not only a great session, but also such a great end to the day of day one of our Commerce Summit. And for our audience, I want to make sure that you all are reminded that we're not done yet. Come back next Wednesday, same time, same place, same link for day 2, Amazon. We'll be diving into how you can have success through the funnel on Amazon specifically. So you won't want to miss it. And yeah, thank you again, Raquel and John, for joining us today. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.